I pushed open the glass door and the bell chimed soft and low. The shop smelled like old books and something sweet I couldn't name. She looked up from behind the counter and smiled at me like she'd been waiting. I didn't know yet that I'd come back every day for 3 weeks straight. I didn't know I'd start lying to my husband about where I was going. My marriage wasn't bad. That's what made it so much worse. Derek was kind. He worked long hours at the firm, but he always texted me during lunch. We had date nights every Friday. We talked about kids someday, maybe next year when things settled down. I was 28, and our life was exactly what I'd planned since college. But somewhere in the middle of all that planning, I'd stopped feeling anything. I walked through our apartment like a ghost. I smiled at his jokes. I nodded when he talked about the new associate partner position. At night, I lay awake beside him and wondered if this hollow feeling in my chest was just what being an adult felt like. My therapist said I was adjusting to married life. My mom said I was lucky to have someone so stable. My best friend said, give it time. So I gave it time. I gave it 11 months. The shop was called Arcadia. I only went in because I was early for a dentist appointment 2 blocks over, and it was raining. I didn't need anything. I wasn't looking for anything. She was rearranging a display of hand-poured candles near the window. Take your time, she said. There's tea in the back if you want some. Her voice was low and warm. She had dark hair pulled into a messy bun and paint stains on her fingers. She looked about my age, maybe a year or 2 older. I thanked her and wandered toward the shelves. The shop was small and crammed with strange, beautiful things. Vintage jewelry, handmade pottery, watercolor prints of places that didn't exist. Everything felt intentional, like someone had curated it with actual care instead of just trying to sell something. I picked up a ceramic mug shaped like it had been pinched by hand. That one's my favorite, she said from across the room. I turned and she was watching me, not in a pushy sales way, just watching. It's beautiful, I said. Then it's yours. I almost said I didn't need a mug. I almost put it back. But something about the way she said it made me feel like she wasn't talking about the mug at all. I used it every morning that week. Derek asked where I got it, and I said a place near the dentist. He said it was nice and went back to his phone. I went back to the shop 3 days later. I told myself I needed a gift for my coworker's birthday. I told myself I just liked supporting small businesses. I told myself it was on my way home anyway, even though it absolutely wasn't. She was there again. She was always there. You came back, she said when I walked in. I needed a gift, I said too quickly. She smiled like she didn't believe me. What's the person like? I described my coworker. She asked questions, real questions, like she actually wanted to know. Then she pulled a small glass vase from a shelf I hadn't noticed. This, she said, and handed it to me. Our fingers touched for half a second. I felt it in my stomach. I bought the vase and left and sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. I started coming in twice a week, then 3 times. I'd make up errands. I leave work early and tell Derek I got out on time. I bought things I didn't need, a scarf, a set of vintage postcards, a small painting of the ocean. We talked while I browsed. Her name was Maya. She'd opened the shop 2 years ago after leaving a corporate job that made her miserable. She lived alone in a studio above a bakery. She liked old movies and terrible wine and thunderstorms. I told her things I hadn't told anyone. I told her I felt like I was living someone else's life. I told her I used to paint in college and I couldn't remember the last time I touched a brush. I told her I didn't know if I wanted kids, but I was afraid to say that out loud because everyone expected me to. She listened, like my words mattered. Derek listened too, but it was different. With Derek, I always felt like I was reporting information. With Maya, I felt like I was being seen. You should paint again, she said one afternoon. I don't have time. You have time. You just don't give yourself permission. She said it gently, but it cracked something open in my chest. I went home that night and Derek asked how my day was, and I said fine. I sat through dinner. I loaded the dishwasher. I went to bed early and stared at the ceiling. I knew what was happening. I knew, and I didn't stop it. The next week, Maya texted me. I'd given her my number when I special ordered a necklace for my mom's birthday. She sent me a photo of a new painting that had come in. "Thought of you?" the message said. I stared at those 3 words for so long, my screen went dark. I texted back. We started texting every day, nothing inappropriate, just thoughts, photos of things we saw, jokes, but every time my phone buzzed and it was her, I felt a rush of something I couldn't name. Derek noticed I was on my phone more. "Who are you always texting?" he asked one night. "Just Sarah," I lied. Sarah was my coworker. "She's having drama with her boyfriend." He accepted it without question because I'd never given him a reason not to trust me. That made it worse. Maya invited me to a gallery opening. A friend of hers was showing. It was on a Thursday night. I told Derek I was going with Sarah. I met Maya outside the gallery and she was wearing a green dress I'd never seen before. She looked incredible. "I'm glad you came," she said. We walked through the exhibit together. Our arms brushed. She stood close enough that I could smell her perfume. At one point, she put her hand on my lower back to guide me toward a painting, and I forgot how to breathe. Afterward, we got wine at a bar 2 doors down. We sat in a corner booth and talked for 2 hours, about art, about fear, about all the lives we didn't choose. The bar was dim and warm, and the rest of the world felt very far away. "I think about you a lot," she said. She said it quietly, like a confession. I should have said something safe. I should have laughed it off. I should have changed the subject. "I think about you too," I said. The air between us changed. She looked at me, and I looked at her, and we both knew exactly what this was. "I should go," I whispered. "Okay." She reached across the table and took my hand. Her thumb brushed across my knuckles. It was the most intentional touch I'd ever felt. I pulled away and grabbed my coat and left. I cried the whole drive home. Derek was already asleep when I got back. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom and watched him breathe and felt like the worst person alive. He loved me. He trusted me. He'd never done anything wrong, and I was falling for someone else. I didn't go back to the shop for 5 days, and Maya texted me twice. I didn't respond. I deleted our conversation thread, and then immediately restored it from the archive. I threw myself into work. I initiated sex with Derek for the first time in weeks, and felt like I was trying to prove something. It didn't work. On the 6th day, I cracked. I told Derek I had a late meeting. I drove to Arcadia. The closed sign was up, but the lights were still on. I knocked. Maya opened the door. "Hi," she said softly. "I can't stop thinking about you," I said. It was the most honest thing I'd said in months. She stepped aside and I walked in. She locked the door behind me. We stood in the middle of the empty shop surrounded by all those beautiful things, and I felt my entire life balanced on the edge of a knife. "I'm married," I said. "I know. I don't know what I'm doing. I know that too." She moved closer. I didn't step back. "Tell me to leave," I whispered. "I won't do that." She kissed me. I kissed her back. The world ended and started at the same time. I drove home 2 hours later with her taste still on my lips. I walked into my apartment and Derek was on the couch watching basketball. "How was the meeting?" he asked. "Fine," I said. "Long." I went to the bathroom and locked the door and looked at myself in the mirror. My lipstick was smudged. My hair was messy. I looked like someone I didn't recognize. I washed my face and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up and Derek kissed my forehead and asked if I wanted pancakes. I said yes. We ate breakfast like nothing had changed, but everything had changed. I saw Maya 4 more times over the next 2 weeks. I lied every time. I became someone who lied. I learned how to delete texts immediately. I learned how to keep my face neutral. I learned how to live in 2 worlds at once, and I hated myself for how easy it became. Maya never pushed me. She never asked me to leave him. She just existed in this separate space where I could be the version of myself I'd buried years ago. But the weight of it crushed me. I stopped sleeping. I lost weight. Derek noticed and asked if I was okay, and I said I was stressed about work. More lies. I knew I had to choose. I knew I couldn't keep doing this. I met Maya at the shop on a rainy Tuesday. She made tea. We sat in the back room on the floor surrounded by inventory. "I can't do this anymore," I said. She nodded like she'd been expecting it. "He doesn't deserve this," I said. And neither do you. What do you want? She asked. I don't know. Yes, you do. She was right. I did know. I just didn't want to say it out loud because saying it would make it real, and making it real would destroy everything. I want you, I whispered. But I can't. Maya looked at me for a long time. Then don't, she said. It wasn't mean, it was just honest. I left and I didn't go back. I told Derek everything 3 days later. We were sitting at the kitchen table after dinner. He was talking about booking a trip for our anniversary. I interrupted him. I need to tell you something. I watched his face change as I spoke. Confusion, hurt, anger, betrayal, all of it. He didn't yell. I wished he had. He just sat there and stared at me like I was a stranger. Did you sleep with her? He asked. No. It was technically true, but it was also the biggest lie of all because I had betrayed him in every way that mattered. He left that night. He stayed with his brother. We tried counseling for 6 weeks. It didn't work. You can't rebuild trust on a foundation that was never fully there. We separated in June, divorced by October. I didn't end up with Maya either. I thought about reaching out a dozen times, but I never did. What we had wasn't built to last. It was built to crack me open, to show me I'd been living half a life. I got my own apartment. I started painting again. I quit my job and took one that paid less, but didn't make me feel dead inside. I saw Maya once, months later, across the street from Arcadia. She was laughing with someone I didn't recognize. She looked happy. I kept walking. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd never walked into that shop, if I'd just waited in my car for the dentist appointment, if I'd chosen the safe, comfortable numbness. But I can't regret the breaking, only what it cost. I walked into that shop not knowing what I was looking for, and I found everything. The problem was, everything wasn't mine to keep.